Communication is always key. Either someone was closed-minded, they didn't know what to ask, they didn't have the right explanation, not enough visual aid, or in this case, a simple misuse of vocabulary.
M, as in Mancy.
What? What'd you think I said? Nancy!
Oh.
You idiot!
Yeah.
So let's get you started and take just one of those extremely common misconceptions and just put the confusion to rest. Stems versus multitracks. Very commonly misused in the heavy music community. I think this is due to such a high rate of do-it-yourself and bedroom producers that are getting really comfortable in their environment, and they're not used to working in a high-paced environment with other engineers and musicians where you have to be able to communicate quickly, promptly, and accurately. I mean, really, this is probably one of the smallest offenses to the music and audio community, but it can save you just that much more trouble and time, not to mention just less stress on you and the people you're working with because you know what each other are talking about. So multitracks or multiple tracks are often referred to as stems, which is just wrong. Multitracks is also interchangeable with tracks, but I wouldn't recommend using tracks as a term because tracks can be synonymous with many other things other than multitracks. So better to use a more specific term here. So when you record audio onto an empty track in your DAW, it creates an audio file that you can edit, cut, trim, and manipulate. Further into the process, you can record more takes onto the same track. It is very likely that you are gluing, combining, grouping, or consolidating the work you did on that one track into a single audio clip that starts from the beginning of your session or at 0 on your timeline. This is now your first multi-track, assuming this is a session with more than one track. It is important to know though that multi-track in conversation can be referring to the multiple tracks in your DAW as well as the audio files on your hard drive. You have many tracks that you're creating for your entire session. You do the same process for everything. These are now your multi-tracks. These are multi-tracks. It is crucial to know that up to this point, stems do not exist yet. They haven't been created. You have to make stems. Now, stems are created from multitracks. The word stem can also be interchanged with the word group. If in a sentence, you are using the word stem or stems and you cannot easily change that out for the word group or groups, stems is not the word you're looking for. Your typical stems are going to include guitars, drums, synth effects, percussive effects, vocals, keys. But if you have sessions that are dense, you might have a few more subgroups of stems that you might want to create. Some of those things can be like lead vocals, background vocals, harmonies, and guitars. You could have solos, clean guitars, lead guitars, and rhythm guitars. Also, if you're playing in a heavy band, there's a good chance that you have a stem created just for impacts, subdrops, and 808s too. Stems can also include a fully mixed version of your song as an instrumental, no vocals. Or the opposite, a cappella. Vocals, meaning no instrumentals at all. Also, TV tracks. TV tracks aren't that common in heavy music these days, but if you don't know what that is, think karaoke. TV tracks are designed for, say, the singer to be able to sing on top of the entire song without the support of a band. This is good for TV appearances, hence the name TV tracks. Stems are not created until the mix is done though, because the stems need to represent what the actual final product sounds like, not the raw versions like multitracks. Now, if you're still unsure about the difference between multitracks and stems, this graphic might help you. So if you see on one side, multitracks are represented by multiple individual audio file types, while the stems are represented by the various groups. Some are subgroups and some are entirely groups. So now that we know what stems and multitracks are, like, what's the point of having one or the other? So with multitracks, it's a short list. You're either a musician in a band that's self-producing and you're moving files from one band member to the next, or more importantly and most commonly, you're sending your files out to be mixed by a mixing engineer. That guy is going to need your multitracks. Stems, on the other hand, have a lot more uses, not just for backtracks. If you're a musician, you probably know what that means. Backtracks are the music that might play from a laptop that a band can't represent on stage. Things like keys, pianos, choirs, crazy sound effects. This is very, very common for large stage show productions. If you're into heavy music, you might see this with bands like Falling in Reverse, Ice Nine Kills, I Prevail, Architects, Bring Me the Horizon. Stems are also needed for promotion promotional materials for the artists and for labels, playthroughs for bands. You know, when they make like ad mats for merch or CD drops or vinyls, you want to put some music in the background, don't you? It comes from your stems. Also, another fun thing that artists like to do is send their music to EDM artists, DJs, people who want to make remixes of your music. They don't want your multi-tracks because your multi-tracks don't sound like what your song sounds like. Your stem sounds like what your song sounds like. Here's a fun fact. Stems have probably been sitting in front of your face without you even knowing it. Have you ever played Guitar Hero or Rock Band? The audio files that they use in those games are stems. Drums, bass, guitars, vocals. They're sitting right in front of you. In fact, it's one of the earliest places stems were bootlegged from. You ever heard of any of those releases where people like to turn up the bass on Injustice for All by Metallica because there was no bass in the actual version? They got them from those games. Stems. If you're curious, the link's in the description below. Multi-tracks, multiple tracks, stems, groups. That's it. Does that actually help? Did I miss something? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you found this useful, I plan on making another video, an entire breakdown step-by-step process on how to get your songs prepared to send to a mixing engineer. Now my question to you is, are you interested in seeing that? And if you are you interested in seeing me show you how to make stems in your DAW? Let me know. And if you're still here and you don't mind, please hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.